loggia. And it's because there's a process that's going on right now.
There is a very long process, which will be the oath of allegiance of the cardinals, of which there are 132 now. And we saw how long it took for the oath to be, for the oath of for the conclave. I'm imagining it will take about that length for the oath of allegiance.
Well, and also, Liz, you had mentioned before, way before in our discussion, the Room of Tears, which has become very central right now. So right now the new pope would have gone, or is it after?
I would think that the ballots are burned after. I think he's already, and I think that's one of the reasons why this is kind of a funny hour.
Yeah. Right.
As it got to be past 5, I was thinking, well, I guess now we have to wait until 7. But I think this must have been the time that he spent in that Room of Tears thinking about or preparing himself for what is look at that square, and that square is just, it's a microcosm of the millions, if not billions, who are watching, all of them fixed to see it, some of them already Christians, Catholics, but other people who are really searching. And there is so much searching going on in the world. I don't know how many of the people that I've been working with in the secular media circles who talk about, well, I used to be Catholic, or I went to Catholic school, or I was an altar boy, or I was this. But they somehow feel this moment as still their own. It's a funny thing about those sacraments, right, Father? It's like hard to get rid of those. And so he's also the father to those people and to all the others who don't even know that they're orphaned yet. So
all the people we pray for on Good Fridays.
Exactly.
Yes. And there's also a real life need going on in the Room of Tears as well, because probably the tailors are very busy adjusting one of those cassocks to be able, for the new pope to be able to wear out until the loggia.
Oh, and don't forget the barber. They keep a barber back there just in case he needs like a shave and a trim or something, because like some of them show up scruffy for the conclave. They're not expecting it, so apparently they've got a barber back there. Also sworn to secrecy.
But these are incredible moments, aren't they? You know.
Wow.
And what a surprise! You were sending out that report on looking at history, and here we are, the smoke billowing out, and here we are waiting now to see who the new pope will be.
Well, and as you mentioned, TJ Thaddeus, this is we had just heard in that archived interview. I remember where I was when Roncalli was elected. Yes. And now we will all remember where we were at that moment when this new pope was elected. I mean, we would have been here seeing these flags from South Korea, from Spain, from everywhere, from Serbia, from Croatia. It's amazing to see.
Yes. I'm old enough that I actually saw Papa Roncalli here in Rome at a general audience, yes. I came as a child and was brought to the audience, and there he was being carried in on the sedia gestatoria, and he really was the smiling, good Pope John. I mean, he was just so warm and loving.
And friendly, yeah, sure.
Well, and, as we're waiting for the moment when we will meet the new Pope for the first time, it's just a moment of reflection, I think, also of, as we were talking about before, the impact and what the significance means. And I mean, just thinking about, there will be one country, one group of people that are in the square thinking, that's someone from my country, or that's someone that I can, relate to, because it will be someone who is from potentially a country that's being represented right now with the flags waving.
Indeed. And the process begins when the official announcement in Latin is made that we have a new pope, and he appears on the balcony, offers his own words. Okay, we're going to go straight away here to Joe Tulloch, our co-worker and colleague here in the square. Joe, tell us about what it's like down there in the square. You're there among the crowds.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's a lot harder to hear you than it was last time when you called me. A lot more noise. Immediately, as soon as we saw that white smoke, a huge cheer went up. Huge cheer. So much so many people already arriving. I can't see them obviously, but I know that they're running. They're streaming towards the piazza from all over. Yeah, huge atmosphere, huge sense of expectation, and more and more people arriving every second.
Was there a moment where you heard gasps? Was there a lot of surprise? Did you feel like people were shocked that the smoke happened right now?
Yeah, I think so. I was not surprised, but it's after, we think, probably 4 votes, right, or maximum 5 votes. So it's definitely a fairly quick election. People overjoyed, people surprised, all kinds of emotions.
How about yourself? Where were you when that smoke started coming out? Because I think many people were assuming it would be a little later when the smoke would come, whether white or black.
Yeah, that's right. So I was here on my phone trying to send back some of these interviews I've been doing, and I wasn't very successful at sending them back because the internet here is so slow, and so that was kind of what was on my mind, and suddenly I see the white smoke and nothing matters anymore, so it came as a surprise for me as well for that reason. What a moment. You can really feel it in the crowd here. Huge moment.
Well, amazing. And I mean, as you mentioned, there's still people running to the square, and there will be probably for a long time, Joe. I mean, because people will be flocking to see the new Pope coming.
Yeah, that's right. And all kinds of people here as well. I've been speaking to priests from all over. I spoke to a nun from Samoa, right, the island of Samoa. I spoke to a Buddhist monk, and that's one of the interviews that I wasn't able to send back to you guys.
Oh, wow.
I spoke to a Buddhist monk from Thailand who said he was in Rome by chance. He just happened to be in Rome visiting a friend, but he was in the square on purpose because he really wanted to be here. He said that although he's a Buddhist, that Pope Francis really meant a lot to him, and he said he was really hoping to see the successor. And so that was really nice. And he said he described it as a gesture of interreligious friendship. That's what he said to me. A gesture of interreligious friendship, solidarity. That's why he wanted to be here from Thailand, a Buddhist monk.
Beautiful. And our camera work here, we were just zooming in on that balcony from where the new Pope will appear. Joe, tell us about, when you're explaining to people in the square, what's next, what's going to happen? I'm sure people are asking you, so what happens? The Pope's new elected.
That's right, yeah. So I've been explaining to people exactly. So we know that right now the Pope is, he's got a few things to do before he appears on the loggia. So we'll have the Cardinal Proto-Deacon will come out, unless of course it's the Cardinal Proto-Deacon that's been elected. And he will give the Habemus papam, the announcement in Latin. We'll hear said in Latin the name of whoever's been elected Pope, and people will be listening very carefully, trying to see if they can catch that name. And if they can't catch it, they'll see the Pope a moment afterwards, because the Proto-Deacon will leave the balcony, and the Pope will come out and he'll greet the people. He'll speak probably in Italian, he'll probably say a prayer and deliver his first address, and that's what everybody here now is waiting for, that moment when they see the new Pope for the first time.
And Joe, how about yourself? You're going to be there for us, aren't you? You're going to be staying there in the square.
Yeah, that's right. No, of course. I mean, CJ, there's nowhere else I would rather be in the world right now than right here in the square. So yeah, you couldn't move me from here if you tried. I'll be here.
Fantastic. And you'll be telling all your friends about this experience you're having here right now in the future, I'm sure.
Well, thanks so much, Joe.
Cheers, TJ.
Thank you, Joe. We're going to be back with you very soon for more update on all happening in the square there. So, Monsignor Vitilla, tell us a bit about this experience for you now. I mean, this experiencing it live, the smoke coming out here, and now our great sense of anticipation for who the next Pope will be.
Well, it's just such a privilege to be here in Rome at this time, but also I've probably felt closest to Pope Francis because I've served him in different ways, both as in my work at Caritas Internationalis, and then also at the Secretary General of the International Catholic Migration Commission. I always used to say he's the best guru you could ever have to do public relations on migrants and refugees, and I don't have to pay him a thing, you know. So, and there were many times when I was able to meet him, and it was so beautiful an experience each time. So the emotions are more now than they were other times, because I loved the popes, but they were strange to me. I didn't know them so well. I met Pope John Paul II a couple times, but not as closely as working with Pope Francis. It's wonderful, it's exciting, and then it's a real privilege to be here at Vatican Radio and to have been part of our smoke watching together.
It's now smoke warning, of course. So, and a severe smoke warning.
Exactly.
Yes.
White smoke, that makes it even more severe, so to speak. But it's severe good news, I like to joke and say.
Yes.
But
I think it's going to be very nice. I'm very happy that I was here. And just when I was walking out the door, and I just thought, I don't want to be alone in this moment.
Yes.
This is a moment of ecclesia. This is the moment of people gathered together. I'm going to run back upstairs and knock on the door and see if I'm so happy to be able to share this moment, and I love this view of the square and all of these people who are gathering together in really a tremendous sense of rejoicing. This is after our 9 days of mourning, after the shock of Pope Francis's death. We are rejoicing again, and that is very lovely for a beautiful, beautiful day in Rome.
Yes.
Yeah, stunning. Actually, perfect weather, and I like to jokingly call this kind of weather severe good weather. It's just wonderful. It's sunny and brilliant, and of course, I remember in 2013 when Pope Francis was elected. It was during the evening. It was dark out, and it was still
Cold.
Yes.
It
rather
was
cold and wet
and rainy.
And the sun set later, but it was illuminated with the lighting in the square. And now the even improved lighting they have on the basilica now. It's stunning.
Yeah.
You know, the square and the facade, how they've renewed and the lighting. But then it was illuminated by all the phones being held up and all. But here we have the brilliant sunlight illuminating all the people there in the square and growing in number. And now, Dr. Lev, tell us a bit about, I was thinking, the central loggia of the basilica there, and even the history behind it of the popes appearing from that loggia, from that balcony, and giving their most solemn blessing, Urbi et Orbi, which the new pope will impart after he greets the crowds there, that solemn blessing to the city, in Latin, to the city and the world. Impart after he greets the crowds there, that solemn blessing to the city, in Latin, to the city and the world, which is
that's the first task. That's his first act, is to impart this blessing, because after all, he is the Pontifex Maximus. He is the bridge between heaven and earth. So today we'll see him in the facade of St. Peter's. And that facade, which was built, a beautiful construction by Carlo Maderno from 1612. But even in some of the buildings in Rome, you might not recognize, actually have a loggia of benedictions. So there's a sort of strange side transept on St. John Lateran, because when the popes lived over there, that was where the pope would come out for the Orbi et Orbi blessing. Or even the church of San Marco in Piazza Venezia, where Pope Paul II lived, he also had a loggia of the benedictions placed into his house / church / because the popes weren't officially living in the Vatican. And then even, what it means to have the Pope on that balcony. If we were in the early 20th century, the first conclaves of the 20th century, there was no Pope on the balcony, because during the so-called Roman question, after the unification of Italy in 1870, during those conclaves, while the newly formed Italian state and the ousted papal state confined within the walls of the Vatican, their tensions between the two of them meant that they would hold the conclave, send out some smoke, but you had to wait. You would not see the Pope appear in the square. And so when Pius XI appeared in that loggia, it was already a statement that things were about to change. So it's a very, very, very exciting moment. I remember, I think it was 2005, all the cardinals, when they first started to have lots and lots of cardinals, they were all trying to fit out on those openings of the balcony, and you were kind of looking at a couple of them like, that looks a little precarious.
Yes.
So let's hope they've worked out the placement, the placement out on the balconies this time.
Absolutely. Here we're seeing a long shot there, and crowds coming down the main avenue via la Conciliazione. There are security checks, of course, which is one reason that the crowds may kind of trickle in more than be running into the square. Unfortunately, it's absolutely necessary nowadays. So
sure, you could see them coming from the security now.
So there's a metal check and all, so we have to ensure the safety and security there in the square. So.
Well, and as we're seeing all this jubilation and excitement, sadly, we have to say goodbye to Liz.
I'm like those sports stars that keep quitting and then coming back. I mean, you'll probably see me back in like another 15 minutes.
Yeah, you are welcome to come back.
Or a bit like the seagull coming in and around the chimney.
I really liked the sports star comparison better, but I'll handle seagull. Okay. Thank you so much once again. I'm so happy we got to share this moment together.
Thank you for being here with us.
Well, and as Liz mentioned before, when we were talking about what is happening now, what takes so long, I mean, according to John Paul II, I believe his Apostolic Constitution, right, Universi Dominici Gregis, there's a process that's happening, and it starts with the rite of acceptance, which already happened, because that's when we get the white smoke, because the Pope, the man that was elected, had to say yes.
And has to sign and have it certified.
Exactly. So isn't that, it's beautiful, right? We always talk about free will in the Catholic Church.
Yes.
He could say no, but this means that whoever we will see on the loggia has agreed, has said yes to this. And as you can hear, the crowds are coming, and we see...
and we see the pontifical band there coming out, and the Swiss Guards, of course. There's always a traditional salute of the Vatican hymn or anthem to celebrate the occasion. It's part of the festivity of it, and we hear they're playing already and coming out there all in full uniform.
Well, and it's special. It's special too because these last more than 2 weeks, we've had the Swiss Guards present for certain things, but now they have a Pope once again that they are protecting. That is their role. That is their mission, right? To be where the Pope is and to protect him. And so this is extra special because now we see them coming out again to the piazza because we will have a Pope.
Yes. I live with 21 other priests in a residence, and all of us work in the Curia. And we've been sharing at breakfast how hard it is in the morning when we're celebrating Mass, and there's always a prayer in the canon of the Mass for the Pope. And, we now have to skip over that. And it's like your tongue doesn't stop, So now we can pray once again for the Pope as well.
Exactly.
Yes. Well, our predecessor popes can pray for us as well.
Exactly.
Intercede in ways
that I'm sure of.
We hope and pray
for sure.
So again, the bands here will be coming in and playing the anthems, the hymns when the new Pope appears, just like the Urbi et Orbi on an Easter or Christmas or solemn occasions.
That's right.
And so it's to be expected at this time, and we probably have another, it's at least a half hour before the earliest the new Pope will appear from the central balcony.
But also during this time too, there will be prayer too, and certainly the new Pope will be praying, but also the cardinals will be praying with him too.
And we will all be praying as well. Everyone in the square will be praying.
Yes, exactly.
Around the world. All of you watching and listening from home, will you join in prayer as well for this moment?
We do indeed. You can be sure even the new Pope hears all this in the background because it's a lot of strong sound that's coming up there and then propagating up into the areas there in the buildings and just outside the loggia there as well. You can hear that. I know that from experience.
Right.
The sounds of the streets, the sounds of the square.
Well, and it must be a sign of. They must feel encouraged hearing the cheers, the music, because this is a big moment for anyone. And then to come out into the loggia and see thousands upon thousands of people. If public speaking is not your thing, that would be very intimidating. And so to hear the support of the band and the people clapping and cheering must be extra special for that person.
Absolutely, a huge encouragement as well. Apart from the weight of the office and accepting and realizing the challenge, the immense challenge that they'll be taking on and responsibility, but encouraged by what is the fanfare we're seeing and hearing in St. Peter's Square right now. And as I mentioned, the crowds are filtering in, going through their security check before that, but the square is slowly filling up there with people coming in last minute to be here. Of course, they're lucky they have a little time because we have about this almost 1 hour before the new Pope will appear. And so we see in the blue there the gendarmes, the Vatican gendarmes and the band they have there, and then of course the Swiss Guard in uniform there in position. So,
well, and just again behind the scenes, looking back behind all the process that's happening, I think is so interesting to think we're seeing the crowds waiting, cheering, trying to keep spirits up while they wait the hour or more until we know who the Pope is. And I think, as we're talking about, prayer is also a central part of this aspect as well. Before the Pope comes out, we see the first ceremony, the greeting, the Te Deum. where in the Sistine Chapel, after being dressed and saying yes, the Pope goes back to the Sistine Chapel and he takes a seat on a chair and a ceremony begins, and it's introduced with a greeting from the senior cardinal of the Order of Bishops, and then they read a passage from the Gospel, which, as we talked about with Liz and also Dr. O'Donnell, I mean, it grounds the mission of the Pope, the office of the Pope in the Gospel, in the message that Christ gave to Peter, feed my sheep, tend to my sheep. So I don't know, it's a really special moment, I think, when you look behind what's happening right now as we wait for the Pope.
And speaking of the ground, please.
Just in the unbroken line of passing the authority and the responsibility of the papacy from Peter all the way on.
And now, going on the ground there in the square, we have Sister Nina Krankic, who's from Croatia and is with us there in the square, and she works here at Vatican News and is going to share us tell us more about her own experience there in the square. Sister Nina, can you hear us?
All of our listeners, to all who are following us online now. Pretty amazing. I just arrived here at the St. Peter's with my colleagues. We just rushed out of the building and we just arrived here. It's so many people already gathered here. There's the orchestra playing, as you probably can hear and see. The atmosphere is so getting warmed up, and it's incredible. We're going to take our place somewhere here among the people, and we're going to wait for that special moment that is going to happen very soon.
Sister Nina, you must have run out of the building there to get there in the square, because I mentioned the crowds coming in now there's got to be some bottleneck there, isn't there?
Yes, we ran out of the building. All the colleagues started screaming, "Watch out, watch out!" There was a white smoke, so we just ran out and ran through the crowd, and we're going now. We're here in front of St. Peter's, actually, so we have a pretty good position, so if we talk a little bit later, I can tell you more about what's going on. But you actually cannot arrive at the square now because there's so many people from all around the all parts of the home gathering here. So it's really hard to even enter the square at this moment. There's so many journalists. Everybody's doing their best and interviewing people all around. So pretty amazing to see.
So it must feel like a big party almost, I imagine, in some ways, doesn't it?
Now the Italians are coming in.
Today the biggest party that I would ever add. That's for sure. That's for sure.
And we can hear the bands there. We see the Italian Carabinieri band that's coming into the square as well. So I imagine it's adding to the festive atmosphere you're living there, isn't it?
It's very festive atmosphere, and even the Swiss guards are all here, and the music, the people, very festive, very, very beautiful, something beautiful to see.
All right, Sister Nina, thanks for giving us that update there, and we look forward to connecting with you there again when possible. We know how it's a little tough with the cell signal there, given all the people communicating live on their cell phones and the networks there being a bit saturated. But thank you.
Yeah,
and
I hope to talk to you soon. And you can still make it, people. If you're somewhere around, if you're somewhere close, you can still make it. So try to get on the square and don't miss this special moment.
Wonderful.
In time. And if you're watching in today's, don't stay with us and wait for that special moment that's falling.
And Sister Nina, by the way, this is your first experience of this type, isn't it? Your first conclave, and
yes.
So it must be extra special for you.
Oh, amazing. You know what, but even seeing that live, it's something so special, and seeing that many people. As we were coming here from the dicastery, from our building, I've actually seen people cry and screaming Habemus, papam, and which was so touching, people running and crying, and, you feel that it's just like a special moment in the history of the church and of the world. So it's something that it's just once in a lifetime. So I'm really grateful to be here now.
Wonderful. All righty, Sister Nina, thank you so much for sharing that with us, and we hope to touch base with you there shortly, okay?
Thank you for calling me.
All right, in the meantime, good luck getting in the square there.
Bye-bye. Thank you, bye-bye.
All right.
Well, and continuing, as we mentioned before, the atmosphere, but also what we're seeing. You see the bands, Father, as you mentioned, the Italians as well, coming up the stairs that we often saw the Pope Mobile drive up for general audiences. And shortly, we're not sure exactly when, but when the Pope comes out, there's a formula that is said in Latin. And for many of us, we might not have studied Latin in school. I mean, my Latin is quite rusty, so I don't know if maybe, Father, you know a bit more about what's going to be said. And for those who might not know, what is the formula? What is said?
Well, it says the proto-deacon, and it's Cardinal Momberti is the proto-deacon right now, will come out and say, I have an announcement of great joy, and then he says, we have a pope, Habemus papam. I saw some signs there, and they didn't have the correct conjugation of papa, but that's okay. The fact is, the news is and it's almost universal language now in terms of communicating the fact that we now have a pope.
And then after that, he announces the name that he's taken.
Yes, in Latin.
Yeah.
And so I'll tell you a funny story of that too. A friend of mine was in the square when Paul VI was elected. And he was standing, he's from the U.S., he was a student at the North American College.
Oh, yeah.
And no, it was when John Paul II was elected. And he was standing next to an Italian woman, and they announced that the Pope was from Polonia, and this Italian woman crossed herself and said, "Grazie a Dio da Bologna."
Da Bologna.
That guy from Bologna.
Yes.
You didn't hear Polonia in Italian meaning Poland. No.
Yes.
Yeah, it's tricky. If you don't know Italian or Latin, it might be a bit confusing. But no, it's extra special, and as you mentioned, I mean, I remember watching with some of my colleagues here at the start of this week some of the compilations from the Habemus Papams that we have video or audio of, which is only in the last, just over 100 years that we have video, and it's been really interesting because whether you know Latin or not, you know that phrase and you know what it means, and so it's a big signal to a new chapter in the church.
And I'm thinking that the last announcement was by Cardinal Jean-Louis Touron, whom I worked with a great deal.
Oh, wow.
And he made that announcement, and it was so good. And he's gone home to heaven, but I'm sure he's now rejoicing once again tonight.
That's right. I remember him very well when he announced introduced Pope Francis, and I remember even hearing his name. I was wondering who, and then I looked it up very quickly because as always, it's a surprise.
Right.
It's a surprise,
and you don't know, because we have such a list of people, and as we've said throughout this entire Smoke Watch, that it's the Holy Spirit that guides the decision, and so we don't know till that moment.
Here we see a formation of the Italian military bands,
Yes. Wow.
Guardia di Finanza, Carabinieri, and then of course the gendarmes, the Vatican Gendarmerie, their own band, and then we have the Swiss Guards all in position there. We see the usually at a point after the Pope appears, so there'll be a mutual salute of both national anthems and hymns.
The retired
papal preacher.
Papal preacher, and also then there's
Cardinal Raniero canta la messa, looking at his phone there, we see.
Technology.
And then Capuchin Cardinal there.
And also Cardinal Sean from Boston.
Exactly.
O'Malley.
Exactly. Sean O'Malley.
Yes, yeah.
So here we are. The bands are playing. And we have an introduction here to the Vatican anthem. Oh no, the Italian anthem. Sorry about that.
That's true. So the hymns, the songs will be going on until we hear that famous line, Habemus Papam, and we see the Pope come out on the balcony.
So we're hearing notes from the Italian national anthem. Fratelli d'Italia.
He must.
And we've just heard those, the Vatican hymn and then the Italian national anthem played, mutual salute between the two groups of bands. And now the mutual salute and greeting of both. This is just like when we see at Easter and at Christmas,
the Urbi et Orbi.
During the Urbi et Orbi, when the Pope gives his blessing to the city and to the world, and before that his Christmas or Easter message. So the bands are lined up there as we await the curtains to be pulled back there from the central loggia of St. Peter's Basilica there.
And even though the Holy See is a separate country, it's important for Italy to be involved in this too, because he's also the Bishop of Rome. So it's his flock is in Rome as well.
Actually, just now taking off my headphones to hear some of the ambient sound, you could hear kind of the craziness that's going on outside. You could hear helicopters, ambulances, fire trucks, everything. And so, I mean, even at the end of Via Conciliazione, where we are, you can hear the excitement and the festivities that are happening outside.
Monsignor, I think some of that chimney smoke has gotten
to me, yes.
There's a lot of pollen in the air, so it's an allergy time here as we head into summer. But what a stunning view there. We have the sun just going down behind the facade of St. Peter's. It's always stunning, when it comes time to sunset there with the facade facing east, but then when you're looking at the basilica and the sun going down behind it, it's always
so beautiful.
So beautiful, yeah.
But everybody's eyes are on this.
Yeah, everybody's looking up, waiting for the doors to open and then the white curtains to be pulled back.
Well, and there's actually a story about what's happening right now. Again, the Room of Tears, the Pope, the new Pope getting dressed, and we know that there are 3 sizes of the white cassocks because you don't know who's going to be elected, but you have to be prepared. And actually, one of our colleagues, Christopher Wells, who was on this morning actually on the Smoke Watch, was talking about Pope John the 23rd, and he was...
That to let out, yes.
And actually, since it didn't fit, they had to tie it like a medical garment.
Exactly.
And so it's a funny little anecdote to just remember that, I mean, no one knows, and so everyone's prepared, but that's what's going on right now. They're trying on the garments, and they're seeing what's fitting.
And, of course, they have different sizes available to start with, but sometimes they might need adjusting, depending.
Exactly. We're all made in God's image and likeness in different sizes. Yeah. So there you go.
See all those flags representing the different nations present. Also, it is the Jubilee of Hope, and so we have pilgrims here for Jubilee events over these days as well. I think I read about 15,000 for currently in Rome just for the Jubilee themed events. For pilgrimages that were organized well ahead of time.
Well, and we're hearing from our producer, Francesco Merlo, that they're looking outside our building, and as I mentioned, there's helicopters, but they're blocking off the roads, and that's what Liz was mentioning too, that people are stopping, and they're just trying to get to the square as fast as they can. So it's a moment of organized chaos a bit in the square and around the Vatican.
We have reports that there are people literally running to get into the square. And they will eventually, as they go through the checks and controls there. They do an extraordinary job of the crowd control as well, with these many people coming into St. Peter's Square and avoiding any potential problems or issues due to that. So,
well, and that is, you have to think that, I mean, maybe everything has a purpose, right? Everything has a reason, because we have this time in between the white smoke and the Habemus papam, maybe also for everyone to get to the square. It's a dual-edged sword. The new Pope is being prepared and ready to go to the loggia, but it's also to let everyone who can get to the square to be there for that special moment.
And we're seeing it with our Vati drone footage here, as I'd like to call it. And you can see the square there. It's just wonderful. You can get a sense of the crowds, and then on the people kind of streaming in from the main avenue, Via della Conciliazione, and some of the side streets there.
Talking about the universality of the church, I just got a message from a UN official in Gaza, who's listening to this transmission, and so you could see how connected people are, and how grateful they are to be able to hear Vatican news as well.
Yeah, of course.
Well, we're grateful to have you here to say some nice, intelligent things for us.
I don't know.
As well as and give us some interesting input on all, and to share this experience. As we see the our drone footage there shows our Vati drone is showing the avenue there filling up with people, and as they come closer to the square, then they just go through a check there,
and all the flags are ready.
And Thaddeus, because since this is your third conclave in Rome.
In Rome, yes.
And
well,
so
I haven't been a conclave elsewhere.
No, but you've been in Rome.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
But have you ever had the opportunity, because I know working here, we're always pretty much in here, but have you ever had the chance to run out to the square or see the excitement?
For Pope Benedict, I was up there on the colonnade there. If you're looking here on the footage here, you can see here on the left side there on that colonnade there where the statues are, on top of the Charlemagne wing of the colonnade. I was up there and able to just view from that position where all the photographers, videographers were, or most of them anyway, accredited, to see him come out and greet the crowds and give his blessing. And I remember, this is a strange thing, but after that event, going back into the Vatican and running into Cardinal Jorge Bergoglio.
Oh my gosh!
This is long after probably about an hour after the blessing was given at the end of the. And I remember it distinctly because I knew the faces of all the cardinals, and so it was a.
Little did you know.
Little did I know. Little did I know. And then when there we see some of the cardinals there. There's Cardinal. I think that's Cardinal Whirl, and we see, and then.
Canta Mesa, Canta la Mesa.
Canta la Mesa, and then.
O'Malley.
The cardinal non-electors.
Yeah, exactly. They're over 80,
and
so
there's
they're non-electors.
Sister Petrina, the head of the Governatorato now.
And that's Archbishop Fisichella as well, I think.
Yeah, we see the secretary of the dicastery for communication there, Monsignor Lucio Ruiz, as well. Anyway.
Well, and so Thaddeus, was it? I mean, obviously it's very different being inside here, but the excitement is still pretty much the same, being on the braccio, the colonnade, and being
very
here.
Much so, because you're seeing things up close, and not only into the bells I was mentioning earlier that you hear very clearly and loudly, but then seeing from a unique angle, almost at below the level of the central loggia, but higher up from in the square. In 2013, then I remember I was down the street on the Conciliazione looking out the window at the crowds on Via della Conciliazione, and I could see the central loggia from which Pope Francis appeared then in 2013. So that was my other experience, per se, and a unique one at that. And now here in our studio here, right close to the action there.
Exactly.
It's a third privileged experience. And again, what's really... you really feel is the excitement of it, and the joy of having a new pope, but then also the expectation: who's it going to be?
Right.
And I remember with Pope Benedict, it was a bit the weather was a bit cloudy and cool then. I mean, this is a day of just brilliant sunshine, mild temps. Of course, we're in May, and so things warm up here quite a bit and pretty quickly.
When Pope Francis was elected, I was helping out at an English-speaking parish in Geneva in addition to my other work. And the pastor had asked me to give a talk to the parents of the First Communion children. And we got the news just as I was ready to start the talk. So I knew tonight I'm not going to get anything else done of this.
Wow. So you've gotten the announcement in different places all around the world.
Yes.
No, that's amazing. And every time just a tad different.
And we have joining us Father Paul Samasumo, who's from Zambia, and he's head of the English Africa section here at Vatican News and the Dicastery for Communication. Father Samasumo, good to have you here. Many of our listeners who listen to the liturgies will recognize your voice as well as you do the commentaries for the papal events. How's this experience for you now?
Thanks, TJ. Actually, I've been here all day, and then I went outside to meet someone. And you won't believe, I got blocked. I could hardly come in. I've been trying to come back for the last 10 minutes. But fortunately, the security forces allowed me when I showed my badge. And people are just running into the square. It's amazing. It's my first conclave. I've never... I came in just after Pope Francis had been elected.
Wow.
So this is quite an experience for you.
It is an experience for me as well, yeah.
Absolutely.
Amazing. Even just the moments leading up to this experience. I live in a house where some of the cardinals also were staying before they moved to Santa Marta. Of course, they had their own little tables, and sometimes we'll just provoke them. They had some secrecy, of course, confidentiality, but it was so wonderful, and the dedication of them going to the congregations, the meetings, and even the non-electors, some of them live there permanently in our house. And we have some of the staff who have been helping. They had to also do the swearing in, so that they would be. Some of them couldn't go because they have small children, and they wanted to stay next to their children. So it has been a great experience, even from that point of view.
Well, and also, since you're from Zambia, how do you think people in Africa, the African continent, are taking this moment? I mean, we have viewers, listeners from all around the world, but your experience in watching the conclave and being prepared for this Habemus papam moment, like, what do you think is the atmosphere, the environment of people watching in Africa?
It's a great moment. I can tell you already I've received about 5 or 6 calls just within the space of 10 minutes as I was coming in.
Wow. From
some of my colleagues who are in the media. And I think the most, the call that I really enjoyed was from my uncle. Oh. My uncle is 82, and usually we talk to him through my aunt because he has a problem of hearing. But he's so excited. So everybody's following. They're following on various channels there, the national television stations, on radio, and so forth. It's a great moment. And knowing Africa, they've always been fascinated by the popes. I remember even from a time when I was a young boy myself in catechism, we used to be taught the anthem, the papal anthem.
Really?
Yeah.
So that was very familiar for you to hear.
Not this one, but there's an old one that was translated in our languages.
Oh, wonderful! Translated in your language.
Yes, yeah.
In your language or languages?
Exactly.
And what are your languages, by the way? Just out of.
Well, I'm from Zambia, and Zambia has 72 languages.
Oh my goodness!
Of which 8 or so are the main ones. Okay. That's widely spoken. English is the official language so you can get by with that.
Fantastic. And I imagine people tune in even to our live streams, even if it's in Italian, Latin, or with your translation in English. I imagine it's a way to connect people. Tune in the same, even if they don't understand what's being said.
It is, and some directors of some of our Catholic radio stations. I'll give you an example. In Kenya alone, there are about 11 Catholic radio stations.
Wow.
So they've been asking, what time is the smoke? Why are we having the smoke? Yeah.
Well, and it's really interesting now that we have you, Father Paul, in here, because as we heard from Father Bob, we had a message from Gaza, listening there, and then now you hearing messages from all over, and
exactly.
So it's the wide-reaching effect of this moment, and as the message or the theme that we've seen throughout our conversation has been universality, and how this is not just a moment for people here in Rome, and not just for Catholics, for people everywhere.
In fact, I'd like to thank people around the globe tuning into our live stream here. Maybe you're watching on a local or a national network, local Catholic radio, wherever you're listening. Thanks for joining us here. We're going to be providing you with all the information we can as we await this historic moment to find out who the new Pope is. And we'll know pretty soon. It's been about about a half hour or so since the
close
smoke.
to an hour.
An hour.
An hour? Okay.
It was around 6 o'clock Rome
Okay,
time.
There you are.
It was 6:07 or something.
Something like
So
that.
any moment now there. And we see the crowds are coming in to the square, still streaming in, slowly but surely. On the sides there, you can see on the right side and then the left side after they've gone through the checks there, and then coming into the square. And they can all see things pretty well because there are these big television screens and good high-res ones too in the square and along the Conciliazione Avenue leading into the square. So many people, they can see just what we're seeing all together here. These same images and coverage. Sometimes there's some text message or some subtitling there and info for them, but they can get a good idea of what's happening even if they're not up close, thanks to the nice new technology we have out there.
Well, and I'm sure, as we all talked about before, and Father Paula, you would also, I'm sure, have experience with this, but using like the screens in the square, us doing this commentary, and you have to imagine that social media is blowing up with this moment, you know?
Oh, yes.
I mean, everyone that's in the square is live streaming, I'm sure, taking videos, taking pictures, and so the news is spreading even faster than it would have 10, 20, 30 years ago.
Exactly. Even just here in Rome, you know, just the streets, the cafes. What I found interesting is, I'm sure you've seen the guys that sell trinkets and stuff.
Sure.
Some of them are from Senegal, from Bangladesh, and so forth. And when the smoke came out, this guy asked me, "Do we have a pope?" And he said, "Do we have a pope?" I thought most of them are Muslims, but that kind of interest is really very touching. And I found very moving, to be honest. Yeah,
absolutely.
I have another story on that. When Pope John Paul II died, I told you I was on my way to Gambia, and I had to go through Senegal. So in Dakar, there was this long line that I was waiting to go in through immigration, and the guard pulled me out and said, "You know, the Pope has died." I said, "Yes, I know." You know. So then he said, "You come up to the front," and then he brought me to the official, and he said, "You must have this father go through now because the Pope has died." And then he told me that he had a chapelet, a rosary from John Paul II because he was part of the police when John Paul II visited Dakar. Next morning, 5 o'clock, I'm back in the line because I have to then fly to Gambia. And again, he came, pulled me out of the line, got me through, is everything okay with you? You know, it was really amazing. But you see, again, what the Pope means to so many people. And he told me he was Muslim, but, you know, he was important religious leader.
Right, of course.
Again, I'm sure people around the world now are just tuning in, dropping in and out of this broadcast and other broadcasts to see what we're all waiting for with anticipation of who the new Pope is. And that should be very soon now. And we'll know, of course, not only from the video we have here, but then when the crowds let us know with their cheers and applause.
And it will be we'll all be trying to give you immediately the name of the cardinal, which has now become the Pope. And as I believe, TJ, you mentioned earlier, or no, Father Bob, you mentioned it will be in Latin. And so we'll all be brushing up on our Latin in between, now and then, so that we will have the name correctly. And then we'll also get to hear the name that the new Pope chooses to be
I
his
think
new...
the name is always also interesting because it kind of gives his vision of what he wants to do with the papas. Probably not what he wants to do, but what he, what inspires him. And Father had an anecdote there. I also have one. And when Pope Francis chose the name Francis, one of the Jesuits in Zambia told me, we were so excited because we thought you were chosen Francis Xavier.
Yes. And actually, it was the next morning that Francis clarified that this was Francis of Assisi. So
yeah, it's true, because a lot of people were trying to guess and figure it out.
That's right. When he met with journalists, he explained the origin of the name that he took and why.
Well, and it's special, like you mentioned, Father Paul, right? So it usually drives their an idea of what the focus might be for the pontificate, choosing this special name. And we had mentioned earlier, right, that the person, I think it was Liz that mentioned, the person becomes a new person in that sense. The Pope is a new man because he gets rid of the old name, takes on this new name, and he's no longer just cardinal whoever. He's the Pope of the Universal Church, the Pope that is the symbol of the Catholic Church around the world, not only because, he's known as the Pope, but also because of his white cassock that is widely recognizable.
we're seeing these camera shots. Those big television screens, people know when they're on camera, and so they have their moment of fame.
They're
their few
thrilled.
seconds of
Yes.
fame, waving and greeting everyone there. So it's always kind of fun too. It brings a little involvement and participation for everyone.
And it's good that the authorities, I think they planned this very well. You have screens around the Vatican, so that reduces also the congestion. We have the new square, which has just been redone for the Jubilee year here. So there's another screen there, just outside this building. And people are just sitting out there. They are not rushing to go into the square. So they can see, and maybe they even get a better shot from, a better view from the screen there. So there are a number of these large screens surrounding the area. And I think it was very good planning on that part.
Yeah, wonderful, in fact. And then even just the organization, I'm always impressed with the organization, crowd organization, how people are led into these areas to assure that they can get in. It might take a little time, but then also how everything has come off so well without a hitch.
Again, it was almost prophetic
crowds.
because so much of the reconfiguration of the square and Via della Conciliazione was done for the Jubilee, but it served very well for the funeral and now for the new Pope.
Yeah, the city has done all these
Yes.
works projects also to help traffic flow well through the area. And here we have,
Yes. So it's,
it looked like, let's see here, that was Cardinal Schönborn, was it?
yes, and then
also
Cardinal, who was the head of the Christian Unity.
that's right,
Yes.
okay.
And you can hear the helicopters. You
Yes.
can hear them in the
Yeah,
square now.
yeah.
So it's getting louder and more apparent that there's people from all over, and everyone's getting images of the square.
And I think the security forces trying to
Yes.
keep the peace.
Mhm.
And I noticed also they blocked some of the roads leading to so that people are running across the roads, you
Right.
know. So
Got to keep them safe
you
too.
gotta keep them safe, right, Kelsey?
Well, and so one of our colleagues, Lisa Zengarini, she did a lot of research on why we have this tradition of changing the baptismal name of the cardinal into the name for the Pope. And it actually started way back,
It looks like there may be.
yeah, 2,000 years ago to St. Peter, whose original name was Simon. And so it stems all the way from that. And it's a lineage that has been continuous since that time. And actually, what's interesting is that not all the popes have done this. Out of the 266 now, 267, only 129 have actually chosen a new name, which I never realized.
It was much later
Mhm.
before the new name, was put into.
There you go.
practice,
And that was John the 12th,
yeah. Mhm.
Pope John the 12th. And only during that time, from 955 to today, it's only two other people that have not
Yes.
taken new names, which is interesting.
Very interesting.
Yes. So we've gone from the smoke watch and warning now to the Pope watch.
Yes.
We are on
the
a
new
Pope
watch
watch.
here from the central balcony, and I think we're coming up on prime time here. I think soon we should be seeing the new Pope appear, and we're getting some zooming. Some close-ups here of the crowds there, and we saw
Mhm.
some Vatican officials. In fact, before,
TJ, I just also wanted. I
and
know
as well
some-
as the mayor of Rome is out there.
Yes.
We've gone, okay. Yes, Gualtieri. That's right. Before that, we saw was it Cardinal Casper, right? Christian Unity. We saw
That's right.
in the
Casper,
square there,
yeah.
Casper, and then
I was going to say that it's been interesting also from the time the Holy Father Pope Francis died, how the liturgies have been moving and preparing the people.
Yes.
Even yesterday's Mass, just, the prayers, we implore you, give us a shepherd
Yes.
pleasing to you, one who will lead us by example and lead us to the gospel truth. This is in the collect and in the closing prayers.
Yes.
So this conclave liturgy is also very elaborate and very moving and preparing the people. So it's not just like this is just a successor to Francis. This is actually, a transformation. This is going to be Peter now, who is going to be taking office.
That's right. Cardinal Ray said that in his homily, didn't he?
He did.
He's been such a gift during this time too, Cardinal Ray.
Cardinal Ray's incredible.
92 years old, full of energy, and beautiful homilies, really inspiring us and helping us live through this whole ordeal.
Very inspiring at 92 years.
Yes,
91,
92 years old. Yes,
Amazing.
Yeah, inspiration indeed, and then his energy, and also animated as well in delivering, giving his homilies as well with passion. So I'm always impressed. But so here we are. All right, we got those flags.
Someone is just asking me on the phone, do we have the name yet? No.
Yes, we will learn with all of you.
We're all like everyone else.
It must be hard for those cardinals out there now, because I'm sure they're not allowed to tell us.
Exactly.
But,
That's true. Yeah.
Wow.
Mom's the word.
Mom is the word. And we're just waiting for the appearance. Pope Watch is on high alert.
That's right. It could be turned into. It will be a warning soon.
It will be.
Okay. So.
Yeah.
All right. So even some quiet among the crowds now as this anticipation is
building,
sinking in and building.
Because I think what they will do as soon as the square is full, they don't let any more people inside to prevent the stampede.
That makes sense, yeah.
It makes a lot of sense.
Again, like you were saying, the safety.
Yeah.
Safety is a big priority, even though it's exciting. And you see even small children getting excited for this moment on our screen. So from the youngest to the oldest.
Fun for them, fun for us.
Exactly.
Too,
It's as fun for all ages.
Indeed.
And even the Vatican flag.
Vatican flag. And we're lucky the sun's gone down behind, it looks like behind the Basilica now, so you won't have the sun blinding you as you look at the central balcony, the loggia there.
So a bit of anxiety yesterday, when the smoke wasn't coming, and say, what's happening? Why is it taking that long, and so forth. But you could understand. I think, as has been explained, there's so much to do. There was the juramento, there was
the homily of Cardinal Cantalamessa as well.
Then and then there was also the Vespers as well. So I think it was understandable. But you could also understand also the anxiety and the joy and the excitement surrounding all this.
Sure.
Yeah.
Of course.
And then the first time going through the whole process of the voting process, whereas, by the time this morning came around, it was all, it wasn't anything new. They're going in there to vote.
Right.
And, before prayer, of course. And
I mean, a lot of these flags that we're seeing on the screen as we wait for the Pope, it reminds me a lot of World Youth Day, the same kind of excitement, the same kind of building. You see young people from all over. It's a really beautiful image, and I think is, again, just a sign of the youthfulness of the Church. We talk a lot about the future of the Church, which begins with this new Pope, but the young people that are also present at this moment to see the historic aspect of this. It's really beautiful.
And we see the internationality, the universality of the Catholic Church. It's a global reality, and we see that in the crowds there in the square.
And this we also saw during the funeral of Pope Francis. So many people.
Okay, there's movement. Okay.
Yes, there is movement.
Here we go.
The white curtains are behind the glass door. Now the doors are being opened.
We see first.
Here we are.
Cardinal Mamberti.
The Cardinal Proto-Deacon.
Cardinal Dominique Mamberti.
And he's smiling.
He's smiling. He will give us the announcement. Here we are.
Suspense.
Annuncio vobis gaudium magnum. Habemus papam. Eminentissimum, ac reverendissimum Dominum, Dominum Robertum Franciscum, Sancte Romane Ecclesiae, Cardinalem Prevost, qui sibi nomen imposuit Leonem XIV.
So the Pope is Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost, who's taken the name of Leo XIV, Pope Leo XIV. Cardinal Prevost is an American, and he spent most of his ministry in Latin America, in Peru, and also in Paraguay. And he's an Augustinian father. He was the provincial in Latin America, and then became the Bishop of Chiclayo in Peru. And he then is also, he became the Superior General of the Augustinian Fathers as well. He's now he's been the prefect of the dicastery for bishops.
We see the cardinal electors there appearing on the balcony there as well, with this joy and their smiles on their face.
A great joy indeed, and well, it wasn't one of those papadulas, so to say. What a great joy.
It's a wonderful joy, and he's from Chicago,
Yes.
Illinois.
Yeah,
Chicago.
Okay,
An American.
An American.
Yes.
And
an American. I think that's a historic moment
For
It
sure.
is truly, truly historic.
And you can see all the cardinals on the different
Yes,
balconies
on the
there.
different
For our radio
balconies.
listeners, you may not be able to see this, of course, but they're appearing on all the balconies to the left and right of the central balcony there. All of them clearly standing out with their red vestments and smiles, and
waiting to again for all of us to greet this new pope as well,
To greet the new Pope.
which now we know his name.
Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost, Augustinian,
Amazing.
and has served as prefect of the dicastery for bishops. A native of Chicago, Illinois, in the United States.
Wow. And so, as we said before, you saw all the flags and everything out in the
Yes.
square, and now all the Americans are holding their flags.
I can
Indeed.
imagine, yeah.
It's a historic
and
moment.
the
Who would have
Peruvians
imagined?
too, I'm
Yeah.
sure. Because he
It's-
spent
that's
most
a-
of his ministry in Peru.
Yeah, and that's a
Yes.
special thing, so he has a
This
connection with
missionary
multiple.
experience
Exactly.
and this
Yes.
Exactly.
continuation of evangelization
Mhm.
mission of the church.
The priority, yeah. So you can see still they're like little pockets of red where all the
Yes.
cardinals are standing on the
Yeah.
balconies.
And from our Vati drone footage, and seeing it from above there, it's a unique view, perched above in front of the facade and looking down at them as they're on the balconies there, awaiting now as the new pope, as we mentioned there, Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost, and Pope Leo
14.
the 14th.
Yes.
Pope Leo the
Pope
fourth-
Leo the
Yes.
14th.
the 14th.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, his Leo the 13th was the great social reforming pope
Mhm.
for
He
us.
was
so,
the great social reformer.
Yeah, and he died in 1903, so still fairly recent in the
Yes,
grand scheme of
yes.
Was
things.
Pope Leo the one with Rerum Novarum?
Yes, exactly.
There you go,
And
good
then-
memory.
Yes.
From my seminary days.
And then his successors wrote other encyclicals every 40 years afterwards.
So he started like a
on the
trend.
social, yes, and it's really one of the constitutions of Catholic social ministry and
And
Catholic
probably I
social
would say
doctrine.
a pope needed for our times with all the social challenges the world
Yes,
has
yes.
today.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And he's, relatively young, 69 years old, born on
Yes.
the 14th of September, 1955, as we mentioned, in Chicago, Illinois. And so 69.
Mm-hmm. Well, and Father Paul, as you were just saying, I agree. And maybe Father Bob, you can really stress this point because you work in
The
social
dicastery
humanitarian.
for
Exactly.
Integral human
And so
development.
this
yes.
is an important aspect
Yes.
of the church.
Yes.
The
yes.
Catholic social, the
Yes.
Catholic,
Mhm.
Catholic social teaching, I
Yes.
think, is important,
Very.
and it's often called the untold story of the church,
Mhm.
Yes.
or perhaps the hidden secret of the church, and it has so much and there's a lot of development.
And was one of the needs discussed by the cardinals during their congregations this last week too. So.
Exactly.
Oh, there we see
there's
the American flag.
There's the US flag there. People are thrilled about this.
Yeah, and there's quite a number of American students. Dr. O'Donnell was here, and he was going to be in the square with his American students. So you can imagine them cheering.
Yes,
it'll be a treat for them, indeed. Yes.
I can imagine the scene. The house I live behind is the Basilica of St. Augustine, where we have also the tomb of St. Monica inside there.
Yes.
So it must be a
Beautiful
great day
church,
for all the Augustinians there.
Yes.
Yeah, very special day.
Yes.
Indeed, he. Looking at his biography in going back to more recent history, 1999, he was elected the provincial prior of the Mother of Good Counsel province in Chicago of the Augustinians, and after 2.5 years, the Ordinary General Chapter elected him Prior General of the Order of the OSAs. Ministry again entrusted to him in 2007 at their Ordinary General Chapter. And reading here, in October 2013, he returned to his province of Chicago to serve as teacher of the professed and provincial. He served as, and then let's see, his roles there. And 3rd of November 2014, when Pope Francis appointed him apostolic administrator of the Diocese of Chiclayo in Peru, where he served many years, and he was made a bishop there, and served there for many years. And then in March 2018, he became second vice president of the Peruvian Episcopal Conference, so working as a missionary there, a missionary bishop as well in Peru. Here we're seeing these beautiful shots of the Vatidrone there, of at the same level almost of those balconies, and all the cardinals kind of crowded in those balconies.
And they look like they have the same anticipation that we do.
Exactly. Exactly. Any moment now, Pope Leo XIV will be appearing.
Pope Leo XIV
will be appearing from that balcony.
Pope Leo XIV.
Looking again at his predecessor, the person he took the name from before, Leo the 13th, Pope Leo XIII had the third longest papacy, verified papacy that we know of, behind Peter, the apostle, and then John Paul II. So one from way back in church history and one from our very recent history.
Long live the Pope.
Exactly. No, and even on the screens now you can see a lot of people climbing up on the what are they? The lampposts in St. Peter's Square, craning, yes, just trying to get a good view of the new Pope.
And there we have the cardinals. These are the cardinal electors, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. The ones that helped make this decision.
Yes.
Which, since we had 133 cardinal electors, then we had to have a majority of 89 cardinal electors to vote for Cardinal.
I found intriguing the fact that the voting takes place in the Sistine Chapel, where you have the last judgment.
Right.
So whatever you do, whatever you decide, that's between you and the Lord.
Yes.
Because the weight of the responsibility is so great. So very fitting, very telling, eh?
Right. Well, and before you came in, Father Paul, Dr. Lislev was talking about the Pauline Chapel, and that's where the new Pope, now Pope Leo the 14th, when he will walk down this hallway in the chapel, and at the end of the chapel is an image of Peter crucified upside down, but the artist turned his head so that when the new Pope is walking down the hallway, Peter's eyes are following him.
There we are.
Pope Leo XIV is now
Pope
appearing,
Leo XIV.
coming to the central loggia of the Basilica.
Very special moment.
Very special moment.
And
here he is.
There he is,
And the applause going up, the greeting, the waving.
Big
the
smiles. How amazing.
How amazing.
And Dr. Elizabeth was also talking about the symbolism of the red that he's wearing. You know, it is a sacrificial role, and that is the symbol of the cloth that he's wearing right now.
And we see this beautiful close-up view from the side there, at the same level as the loggia. Pope Leo XIV.
Pope Leo XIV.
Amazing. Smiling.
A smiling
and
Pope, yes.
You can see who wouldn't be taken by the moment. And
I think going through his mind, you know, the weight of this responsibility.
Oh, yeah. You can see it on his face.
You can see it on his face.
Amazing.
After this, you're never the same person.
No.
And we're hearing the bands below, the mutual salute of the anthems, the hymns, you know, Vatican hymn and the Italian national anthem, as we do traditionally at the Easter and Christmas, as we've mentioned.
And after this, now Pope Leo XIV, he will give a greeting and impart his first apostolic blessing, the Urbi et Orbi, to the city and to the whole world.
So that blessing extends to everyone who is watching, everyone who is listening, your family, wherever you are. It's a great moment to prepare ourselves for this first blessing.
This most solemn blessing. You can just feel and see the emotion on his face.
Yeah.
And the crowds there gathered in St. Peter's Square, still arriving, we're being told, from the avenues surrounding the Vatican there, the streets and the...
So just getting messages here, congratulations, God bless the Pope. And you can hear the chanting from the square.
Long live the Pope. Viva il Papa. Viva il Papa.
Viva il Papa.
And we're all silent now, awaiting his first words.
La pace sia con tutti voi. Fratelli, sorelle carissimi, questo è il primo saluto del Cristo risorto, il buon pastore che ha dato la vita per il gregge di Dio. Anch'io vorrei che questo saluto di pace entrasse nel vostro cuore, raggiungesse le vostre famiglie, a tutte le persone, ovunque siano, a tutti i popoli, a tutta la terra. La pace sia con voi.
We're just hearing the first words of Pope Leo XIV. As he continues, we'll provide a summary here in just a moment as we listen to his words. He's asked everyone to, brothers, this is the peace of the risen Christ, a peace that is disarming and humble and persevering. It comes from God, God who loves all of us without any limits and conditions.
Conserviamo nei nostri orecchi quella voce debole ma sempre
and we still have the sound in our ears of that, the weak voice of Pope Francis, who was blessing Rome here. We have that fresh in our minds, in our hearts, in our ears, hearing his voice. The Pope who was blessing Rome, giving his blessing to the world on that morning, on that day of Easter Sunday. Allow me to continue that same blessing. God loves everyone,
non prevarrà.
Evil will not
Siamo
prevail.
tutti nelle mani di
We are
Dio.
all in the hands of God.
Pertanto, senza paura,
So without fear,
uniti,
united,
mano nella mano con Dio
hand in
e tra
hand,
di noi,
with God and among
andiamo
ourselves,
avanti.
we go forward.
Siamo discepoli di Cristo.
We are disciples of Christ.
Cristo ci precede.
Christ goes before us.
Il mondo ha bisogno della sua luce.
The world needs his light.
L'umanità necessita di Lui come
Humanity
il ponte
needs
per
him.
essere raggiunta da Dio e dal suo amore.
But as the bridge between God and his love.
Aiutateci anche voi, poi gli uni gli altri, a costruire i ponti
May we all
con il
build
dialogo, con
bridges
l'incontro,
with dialogue and
unendoci
encounter,
tutti per essere un solo
so that we
popolo,
can all be
sempre in pace.
one people, all in peace.
Grazie a Papa Francesco.
Thank you, Pope Francis, for all you've done. We're hearing the first words here of Pope Leo XIV, just elected Pope.
Voglio ringraziare anche tutti i confratelli cardinali
I'd like to also
che
thank my
hanno
brother cardinals
scelto me
who chose
per essere
me to
successore di
be
Pietro
the successor
e
of Peter
camminare insieme a voi
and to
come Chiesa
walk along
unita,
with you,
cercando sempre la pace, la giustizia,
searching all together
cercando
for peace and
sempre
justice,
lavorare come uomini
and
e
working
donne
together,
fedeli a Gesù Cristo,
men and women faithful
senza
to Christ,
paura,
without
per
fear,
proclamare
to
il
pro-
Vangelo,
to proclaim the
per
gospel,
essere missionari.
to be missionaries. Pope Leo offering these initial words, which we're just translating on the fly here.
Un figlio di Sant'Agostino,
I'm a son of Saint
Agostiniano.
Augustine, and I'm an Augustinian
che ha detto: con voi sono cristiano
who
e
said,
per voi vescovo.
with
In
you I am a
questo
Christian,
senso
and for you
possiamo
I am a bishop.
tutti camminare
So
insieme
may we all
verso quella
walk
patria
together towards that,
la quale Dio ci ha preparato.
to the place that God has prepared for us. May we walk
Alla
together, accompany each
Chiesa
other. To the Church
Di Roma,
of Rome,
un saluto speciale.
a special greeting. As Bishop of Rome, of course, a special greeting.
Dobbiamo cercare insieme come essere una
We've gotta
chiesa missionaria.
Look at how we can together be a
Una
missionary
chiesa che
church,
costruisce i ponti,
a church
il
that builds
dialogo,
bridges,
sempre aperta a ricevere,
that
come
is,
questa
that is always
piazza con
open
le braccia
to
aperte
receive
a tutti,
everyone,
tutti coloro
just
che
like
hanno
in this
bisogno
square, to receive
della
everyone,
nostra carità,
to welcome
la nostra
everyone,
presenza,
our
il
charity,
dialogo, l'amore.
our dialogue and love.
Y se me permiten también una palabra, un saludo.
And now, a greeting in Spanish. Please allow me here
A
to
todos aquellos, y en modo particular a mi querida diócesis de Chiclayo en el Perú,
So to all of you, but especially to the people of my diocese of Chiclayo in Peru,
donde un pueblo fiel ha acompañado a su obispo, ha compartido su fe y ha dado tanto para
where we
seguir
had such faithful
siendo
people
iglesia
accompanying
fiel de
the bishop,
Jesucristo.
and we had such faithful
A
people
tutti voi,
helping the
fratelli e
bishop.
sorelle di Roma, d'Italia, di tutto il mondo,
all of you,
vogliamo essere
the
una
people of
chiesa
Rome and of Italy,
sinodale, una chiesa che cammina, una chiesa che
we need
cerca
to be
sempre
a
la
synodal
pace,
church, a
cerca
church that's a
sempre la
pilgrim,
carità, cerca
that
sempre di
shows
essere
charity
vicino,
always,
specialmente a coloro che soffrono.
and especially is charitable to those who are suffering.
Oggi,
Today,
il giorno della supplica alla Madonna di Pompei.
today is the day of praying to the
Nostra
Madonna
Madre
of
Maria
Pompeii.
vuole sempre camminare con noi, stare vicino,
Our Blessed Mother Mary
aiutarci
always
con
wants
la
to be
sua
close to us.
intercessione, il suo amore.
She always
Allora
wants
vorrei
to
pregare
intercede for
insieme a
us
voi.
through her love.
Preghiamo insieme
So
per questa nuova missione,
let us pray
però
together
per
for this
tutta
new
la
mission,
Chiesa,
for all of the church, for peace in the world, that she will help us give us a special grace, our mother.
Ave Maria, piena di grazia,
Hail Mary,
il
full of
Signore è
grace,
con te.
the Lord is with
Tu
you.
sei benedetta fra le donne,
You are blessed among
e
women,
benedetto è il frutto del tuo
and blessed
seno,
is the
Gesù.
fruit of your womb, Jesus.
Santa Maria,
Holy
Madre
Mary,
di Dio,
Mother of God,
prega per noi peccatori,
pray for us sinners,
adesso e nell'ora della
now and at the
nostra morte.
hour of our death.
Amen.
Amen.
Pope Leo XIV there.
Pope Leo XIV, very interesting. A few themes coming out already there from his first piece, talking about peace.
Indeed, saying a greeting of peace. May my greeting of peace enter into your hearts and reach your families. All people, wherever you are, all peoples of the entire planet.
Right.
May peace be with you. God's peace be with you, he said. And here we see him in his, after having given that opening and beautiful words.
Continuing also the message of Pope Francis, where he even said in Spanish and Italian, tutti,
Il
tutti, tutti,
Santo
todos.
Padre Leone, a tutti i fedeli presenti
And so
And the
Pope,
Holy Father Pope Leo, and to all people in the square and all receiving or hearing this through new technology, online, everywhere, offers his, the plenary indulgence in the formula established by the Church. We pray to Almighty God that He may keep the Pope and protect him and guide the Church and the entire world. Now he'll give this most solemn blessing to the entire world, to all of you joining us.
to everyone.
So we now prepare ourselves to receive this solemn blessing wherever we are, at home, in your car, at work, wherever you are.
Sancti Apostoli Petrus et Paulus, de quorum potestate et auctoritate confidimus.
So
Ipsi intercedant pro nobis ad Dominum.
the holy apostles
Amen.
Peter and Paul,
Precibus et meritis Beate Mariae semper Virginis,
and we
Beati
also
Michaelis
pray to the
Arcangeli,
Blessed Mary,
Beati Ioannis Baptiste, et Sanctorum Apostolorum
Saint
Petri et Pauli et omnium Sanctorum, misereatur vestri omnipotens Deus, et dimissis omnibus peccatis vestris, perducat vos Iesus Christus ad vitam aeternam. Indulgentiam, absolutionem et remissionem omnium peccatorum vestrorum, spatium vere et fructuose penitentiae, cor semper penitens, et emendationem vitae, gratiam et consolationem Sancti Spiritus, et finalem perseverantiam in bonis operibus tribuat vobis omnipotens et misericors Dominus. Amen. Et benedictio Dei omnipotentis, Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti descendat super vos et maniat semper.
And we just heard the blessing there, received the blessing there of Pope Leo XIV, and to the world, to the city, this most solemn blessing to all of us and all of you listening and watching out there.
What is interesting, he is smiling, and I found very touching the fact that he made reference to his former diocese in Peru and spoke to them in Spanish. Very, very touching moment, and how they are thanking them for how they accompanied him. And so from this moment, I think we all accompany the new Holy Father with our prayers and support.
And once again, he asked, just like Pope Francis did before, he asked for continued prayers. You know, this is a heavy task, as we all noted before, and he continues to ask all of us for prayers and also for the intercession of Our Lady on this special feast day.
and he asked us especially to be bridge builders, as he is, Pontifex, a bridge builder as well, but that we should all be building bridges, both here in the Diocese of Rome, in Italy, and throughout the world, and that we should build that on fraternity and on solidarity and on dialogue, So many times Pope Francis told us the same. There have been false debates, I think, in leading up to this about unity and diversity and things, but he's made it clear that he's looking for us to be united, but also to be the bridge builders and to bring about peace in the world through our bridge building.
We're seeing this stunning footage, or this video of our Vati drone there going close to the balcony and seeing, I think for the first time, unique images like this up close of the new Pope.
And there's about 100,000 people we're getting in this square right now who are seeing Pope Leo XIV for the first time.
There's Sister Norma Pimentel from the border of Texas and Mexico that Pope Francis, she spoke to him when he was there.
That's amazing, all the people who are appearing in the square now and the connections they had present and past. Again, quite a novelty, an American Pope.
Right.
And here he is waving, and again, once again, you can see the emotion and sense of responsibility, the weight
of the office.
Of the office.
Well, and this is a beautiful view, seeing from inside the loggia, looking out, what he would see as he waves to the crowds.
It's a very interesting place there, TJ. I don't know if you remember, we used to do the commentaries from that place.
Indeed, commentary positions behind, off to the side of that big hall of blessings, and after those blessings, we would greet the Pope as well, briefly afterward, on Easter or at Christmas. And well, that's our historic moment. The warning is over. We have a new Pope.
The warning is over.
Okay.
And Monsignor Vitello, you were telling us here about, you were translating the prayer.
Yes.
This is the prayer that is read, the blessing, I'm sorry.
The Urbi et Orbi.
The Urbi et Orbi.
Do you want to
read
why not?
Now? Sure.
So, may the holy apostles Peter and Paul, in whose power and authority we trust, intercede before the Lord, through the prayers and merits of Blessed Mary, ever Virgin, Saint Michael the Archangel, Saint John the Baptist, the holy apostles Peter and Paul, all the saints. May Almighty God have mercy on you and forgive you all your sins, and may Jesus Christ bring you to everlasting life. And then he speaks about the indulgence and the absolution and remission of sins, and then he also gives the blessing. I'm not entitled to give the Urbi et Orbi blessing, but we heard it from him.
But again, it's the most solemn blessing that he gives and imparts. And again, in his words, he offered greetings of peace to everyone everywhere, and stressed that he wishes to be a builder of peace in his ministry, and to that we can all be part of that in our own efforts and in what we do.
And 2 or 3 times mentioning the word missionary, I think probably also echoing his own experience as a missionary, a bishop, and now a pope. I found also that very touching, this openness to the world. And he's someone who is coming from the outside. He has been in the Korea, and now, so he has both worlds. And this is very interesting and quite assuring, I think, for the church.
Well, and he comes from the Americas, so while he is an American by birth, being born in Chicago, he has connections to Peru, and so I think it's a beautiful continuity, between the two, the Americas right there. And as we see on the Vati drone, we're getting a good image of the apostles lined up on St. Peter's, the facade there, and you still see the massive crowds that have gathered, over at least 100,000 people, both in the piazza right there and beyond, past Via Conciliazione and our office even.
Indeed. And then again, that embrace of the 2 colonnades is just unique. It has a warm feeling to it of welcoming and embracing those present there in the crowds. Now we're going to try and go back down on to the square there to our own Joseph Tulloch in the square.
Our roving journalist.
Our roving reporter. We're trying to connect with him. Again, it happens that the cell coverage there gets pretty saturated, even if it's pretty extensive. So we're waiting to link up with him to get some direct feedback from him.
But while we wait for that, as you were just mentioning, TJ, about the arms of the colonnade, and that ties in perfectly with what Pope Leo XIV was talking about also in his Urbi et Orbi, the blessing and the greeting, where he speaks about we need to be welcoming to all people, tutti, 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 todos, todos, todos. And so it continues. I mean, you get that welcoming embrace from the square, but then also from our new Pope, which is a continuity also from the late Pope Francis, who initiated that, with his famous line, todos, todos, todos.
Exactly. Everyone is welcome.
It was interesting that he said, for you, I'm a bishop. With you, I'm a Christian.
Yes. That was really beautiful.
A quotation from St. Augustine, I think, yeah?
Well, and it's true. It's a nice, it's a good way to identify himself, that we're all Christians, but he's also a shepherd when he was a bishop, but then now as the Bishop of Rome and the head of the Catholic Church.
Again, embracing everyone, inviting everyone, basically underscoring the unity that brings us together, both Christians, non-Christians, everyone.
And it means, TJ, we are going to see that unity you are talking about in the synodality, because he did refer to synodality as well.
He did, and that word meaning talking to, hearing everyone's opinion and dialoguing together, listening to one another. That's what, in sense, the basics of synodality in terms of listening to one another and seeing where we can talk about things and come to understand one another and where we're coming from and maybe the best way to go forward together. And we're going to be on, just to let you all know, we're going to be on the air here for a little while longer, at least another probably about an hour here, to provide more updates on what's happening and trying and to connect to St. Peter's Square there with our own Joseph Tulloch. We're trying to get through there, and once we get through, we're going to chat with them and get some a sense of what it's like out there. I mean, the crowds are still there, although the square is slowly starting to empty now. And we're seeing the bands there that just performed earlier leaving. And again, an incredible moment. It's amazing to have a Pope from North America, from the United States, and but one who's also lived and worked internationally, as we mentioned, Peru, and then here at the Vatican. In fact, his Italian is very fluent. We're going to take a little break here, a little musical interval, and we're going to come back.
We'll be right back.
Just shortly here. So stay tuned.
Pope Francis just left us. His middle name is Pope Francis. He chose the name Leo XIV. So it is a huge day for Catholics here. And just really quickly, there's an old saying about the conclave that if you enter the conclave a pope, you will leave a cardinal. And basically that means is if you're one of the favorites, and even worse, if you think you've got the deal sealed, you're going to be the next pope, chances are you're not. And so many experts, so-called religious experts, were really betting against us having an American pope. And look what happened now. They're sort of eating their words. We do have an American pope, and he brings with him fluency in Spanish, will be so important, not only here, but of course in Latin America, in many European countries. It's just a huge day.
That's a really good point that you make, and it made me laugh for a moment because I feel as though it's a message in life and anything that you do. If you're overly confident about it and you think you have it, oftentimes it can work against you. But you bring up a very good point about the Catholic Church and how it is losing members, and this is someone who can perhaps bring in people because of his connection to Peru, his ability to speak Spanish. And I also think about the youth too. If there is a lack of an interest in the church and the youth are not as, you know, every Sunday they're not going to church or not following the teachings of the Bible. So much has changed in the course of the last few decades.
Well, one of the reasons that many experts think that people are leaving the Catholic Church is because it is very conservative. And Pope Leo has been known to be conservative when it comes to church doctrine. So we won't be seeing any women serving as priests, as you see in maybe the Episcopal Church or other churches. So a lot of folks who have left the Catholic Church because they feel it is not kept up with the times may be disappointed, but there are a lot of pros for the religious faithful, like you saw Elizabeth in tears here, hearing the bells tolling here at the Sun Valley Catholic Church. It is a huge day for the Catholic community, and I think choosing the best of both worlds for Catholics, which is an American and someone who has such strong Hispanic ties. His mother's name is Mildred Martinez. Now, we don't know if she's from Peru. We know she's of Spanish descent. I don't know where she was born or where her family is from, but he has grown up with a touch of Espanol in his life, and maybe that prompted him to serve so many years in Peru. And we have a huge Peruvian community here in Southern California, so no doubt they're going to be very happy to hear the news.
And Gigi, I don't know if you heard his whole blessing and his message to the masses right there in Rome, but he did speak a lot about the mission of the church to reach out, to hold hands, to go globally, to talk, to the missionary mission of Catholicism, and also the fact that he's bringing in a new energy, right? I think there's a lot of connection Catholics here feel for him because of the fact that, of course, he's American, Peruvian, but he's younger, he's 69, and he does have that message that people can connect with.
Also being 69, Pope Francis was, I believe, 77 when he was named the Pope. So being 69 is considered very young. He will turn 70 years old in September, but that is still relatively young for a Pope. So it's imagined that he will serve a long time and hopefully bring what Catholics around the world need. There's been an exodus, not only here in the United States, and the exodus is attributed to many things. People who have just given up on religion. They don't want anything to do with organized religion. People who have found a new religion that better suits them or reflects their beliefs, their personal doctrine. And so this is expected to hopefully re-energize the Catholic Church, especially here in the United States.
I mean, back to your comments about the conservatism within the Catholic Church, Gigi. Pope Francis was still considered a progressive pope in many ways, because even though even though women weren't allowed to become priests, they were still elevated to bigger positions within Vatican City and within the church. And Pope Francis even reached out to, let's say, even gays, allowing blessings in the Catholic Church for gay relationships. And so here's another pope that was actually selected by Pope Francis to come back to the Vatican and was almost one of his disciples, so to speak. And being a younger pope and seeing much of the world, South America, America, now living in Europe, perhaps, we don't know how this pope, what will happen with this pope, but perhaps Pope Leo will push it further, even further, and be a little more progressive, or push that progressive agenda a bit further.
I think Catholics are going to anxiously await to see what his mission is going to be. We know that Pope Francis was all about peace. As you mentioned, he welcomed the LGBTQ community into the church. He welcomed divorced people to take communion. He said the church was for all. And he received a lot of applause from some communities, and he received a lot of criticism from the more conservative communities in the Catholic faith. He was very much criticized for that policy of welcoming all, but it was, to say, a welcome policy for so many, and brought so many back to the Catholic Church after they left it. So I think we're all going to, and as a Catholic, we're anxiously awaiting to hear what will his doctrine be. We know Pope Francis was about peace. One of his last messages was about Gaza and bringing peace to the Middle East. What will his focus be? What will his cause be? And how will he affect doctrine? He has been known to be conservative. Will that change? Will he maintain the line that Pope Francis started, the policy of more openness, more welcoming, being more inclusive, without changing the church's doctrine? So we shall see, and it's going to be a welcome, and I know a lot of Catholics are anxiously awaiting to hear more from him.
I loved how the woman you were speaking to got really emotional, right? It's all about love and hope and a new chapter, and also the bells tolling. That is just so beautiful, and no doubt there will be Catholic churches throughout the world that will be ringing their bells in celebration of this new pope.
That's right. When they started tolling here, I looked at my watch. It was 10:43, so I knew it wasn't the 11 a.m. ringing of the bells. So we quickly learned that they were announcing to the community here in Sun Valley that there is a new pope, that we had the white smoke, that much-awaited announcement on the second day, and it was much of a surprise to so many who had completely discounted us having an American pope. It's amazing how the experts did not get it right this time.
That does happen from time to time, does it not? But as I watch this, you talk about how beautiful it is and emotional it is, Bob, as we watch. We're not there. I can imagine that energy is, multiplied by the thousandth. But really, regardless of what faith you are, or even if you do have a faith, you recognize the gravity of the situation and how important this is, and you can't help but to feel a little something regardless of whether you follow Catholicism or not.
That's right. We spoke to a lady who was passing by. We asked her if she was Catholic and if she knew that there was a new pope, and she said, no, I'm not Catholic, but I heard. How exciting. So she's not part of the faith, but she's still excited that such an important religion, with so many Catholics in our country and around the world, that they have a new leader. It is very important.
And a global figure. Oftentimes when there are things happening around the world, constantly, of course, we are quoting, and the Pope said this, or right. What is the Pope's reaction? What are his thoughts on this? Again, whether or not you follow Catholicism, the Pope is the type of figure where you want to know, where does the Pope's line of thinking lie?
Where does he stand
whatever
on issues, right? And obviously a big following, too. So his impact is really great.
Right. part of his position is he basically speaks for the Catholics around the world. And so what he says is important. It may not necessarily reflect a specific Catholic person's beliefs. Like I said, he was very much criticized for his inclusive policy in welcoming gays, to welcoming divorced people to take communion. It was long, you know, it was a taboo. If you were divorced in the Catholic Church, you could not get up and take communion. And that changed with Pope Francis. So he does represent such a huge segment of the world's population. And here in the United States, we're talking about around 62 million Catholics, 40% of which are Hispanic, and they feel like they identify with this Pope because he has lived in one of their Spanish-speaking countries. He knows their people. Peru is such a beautiful, beautiful country. And again, like I said, we do have a very large Peruvian community here in Southern California, and we can only imagine that they must be feeling very happy to somehow sort of see themselves represented now at the Vatican.
And how much of a surprise was this to you personally, Gigi, as a practicing Catholic? There were all these names that were thrown about, and when you talk about American cardinals here, Dolan from New York was one that people often talked about a lot because he is such a big voice here in the United States when it comes to Roman Catholicism. And then the Carmelengo, the Chamberlain, who took care of Francis's affairs when the Pope passed, was from Dallas, Farrell. So those were two that were kind of in the forefront, if any, that was going to come from the United States. And Dolan was you know, he's been pretty vocal for the past couple of days. So you almost thought, well, he must know something that it's not going to be him. But how surprised were you that they actually picked someone from the U.S.?
You know, I'd heard all the top candidates. I don't remember all their names right now, but I know there was a man from the Philippines, a cardinal from the Philippines, who was rumored to be almost a shoo-in to be our next pope, and that would have been huge. Bob, I'm sure you can add to that. The Filipino community is such a community of the Catholic faithful. It would have been so welcome to them, and we also have a very large Filipino community here in Los Angeles. So I really thought he was one of the front runners. Then we had a cardinal, I believe, from Africa. They were talking about him being a cardinal. I'd never heard anything about Robert Francis Prevost from Chicago and who had served in Peru. I'm hearing the name today, and I think it was because he was discounted. And I did a quick search on him, and I got all these articles and all these interviews with so-called experts. And basically the headline is, "Why an American will never be Pope," or "Why an American won't be chosen to be Pope in 2025. And I just looked at those and I just scrolled right by them. I thought, okay, you were wrong, you were wrong, you were wrong. And again, we saw that old saying, if you enter the conclave a Pope, you will most likely leave a cardinal. If you believe to be a shoo-in, you most likely will not be the chosen one.
And it was interesting to see as he came out onto the balcony and took in the crowd and the energy and really kind of understood the gravity of the moment. You see a little glimmer of his personality, right, as we're going to get to know the new Pope in the coming years. But he was so heartfelt and emotional as he was up there taking in the moment, almost in tears. And clearly this is just such a huge moment for him personally and for the church. It's a new beginning, right, of sorts, a new chapter for so many people who are faithful and follow the faith. And I was reading that the papal name Leo is a pope that's going to be strong during a time of crisis historically. So giving a little insight too into the name that was chosen and his personality, as he was so gracious and grateful, really thanking Pope Francis for his leadership and for his being kind of a mentor under him at the Vatican, as well as the message of reaching out. So I kind of took away kind of a little bit of what he's going to be doing coming in the coming years, and also just where his heart stands, right? Just a little look at his personality.
And we do, Gigi, you can, of course,
about
respond in a moment. I just want to welcome our viewers, because we're simultaneously casting right now, telecasting Channel 13, KCOP. This is, yes, GDLA Plus, but obviously a different version of it because of the gravity of the situation, and this is a historic moment, so our coverage is continuing into the 11 o'clock hour right now with an American Pope chosen to lead the Catholic Church. Go ahead, Gigi.
Habemus papam. Finally, we saw that white smoke, and such a big day for Catholic communities around the world. And we were talking about Pope Francis and how he thanked Pope Francis. And in show business terms, it would be he's got really big shoes to fill, because although Pope Francis was criticized by the more conservative side of our Catholic Church, he was also very much loved. He was the first Latin American Pope. His Spanish was his first language, of course, from Argentina. He was an extremely humble man, so humble that he didn't even want his family to spend their money coming to Rome. He thought that money, if they had any, could be spent better serving the poor in Argentina. So he was from very humble roots, a very humble man. He never lost that. So it will be big shoes to fill to walk in after Pope Francis, who was so loved, again, criticized, yes, but overall he was very much loved around the world.
But there are sort of two or multiple parts about being the leader of the Catholic Church. You have to be that humble person. You have to be that person who identifies and resonates with 1.4 billion Catholics around the world. So here's a person, Robert Prevost, who had spent so much time in South America, in Peru, and then also grew up in the United States, spent a lot of time in Rome. But also we have to remember that being the leader of the Catholic Church and in Vatican City, having to manage what is essentially almost like a big corporation with all of its holdings all across the world, and all of the people that are involved with this giant organization, global organization. You have to have someone who has the administrative wherewithal and knack to be able to lead the administrative part of it, and also lead the apostolic part of it, Gigi. So he sort of has the best of both worlds.
And it is an institution that has been reluctant to change. It is not a progressive institution. And even if Pope Leo were to want to implement more progressive policies, which I don't believe he will, based on his history, based on being conservative on the church doctrine, it would be an uphill fight. We saw that fight with Pope Francis, who tried to modernize the church just a little bit. And we don't know if Pope Francis would have had even further plans had what he did do been accepted more around the world. There was a big fight. And of course, the Catholic Church, and you can't really talk about the Catholic Church without mentioning the Catholic Church's scandals, and they're still paying for that. The Catholic Church, especially here in the United States, has been plagued with a sex scandal, with archdioceses around the country still making multi-million-dollar payouts and still suffering economically, budget-wise, because of those payouts. We're talking about the sex abuse scandal. Of course, today is a day of joy for Catholics, a day of celebration. But this new Pope will also be dealing with the remnants of that scandal, because it is still being felt by the church around the world.
It's always so great to get your perspective, and now especially on a day like today, as a lifelong Catholic and also a journalist for us too. So we appreciate your perspective.
Yeah, thank you, Gigi.
That was great. Thank you so much. We're going to go back to Brooke Thomas, who's downtown at the Cathedral of Our Lady of the Angels there. We heard bells tolling, Brooke, down where Gigi was in the valley. Anything like that there? Have you seen anything celebratory in nature?
No, not yet. It's still fairly empty. Daily mass here starts at 12:30, so they expect people to start trickling in around 12:15. But just by chance, I was actually right over here. Are those? Or no, that's school. You know what? But I thought our tour group was coming out. I really wanted to show you. But just by chance, a group of 8th graders from Hermosa Beach, they're getting ready to end the school year, and this was their final field trip here. And what are the chances? You know, this has been scheduled for a while, obviously. It's a school field trip. And today, while they're here getting ready to start a field trip, they find out that not only has the new Pope been revealed, but the new Pope is from North America. And so I was able to catch up with one of their parents. Like I said, they're in 8th grade. And, you know, the reaction, just I think from a few of the parents actually, was just pride, and feeling like this sends a message to the rest of the world that there is hope in America, and there is hope from America. And like I said, just a big sense of pride from the people down here. Very, very proud. And I'm sure Villanova fans are, if I know anything about that part of the country.
Oh, yeah. Quite
I'm
a
sure it's a big
historic
celebration
moment
there.
Yeah.
Back to you.
Quite a historic moment to be there for a field trip. As an 8th grader, right? The moment a new Pope is elected.
And she's absolutely right. You go to Philadelphia and go to Villanova, and I'm sure there's going to be
a party.
A big celebration.
Big party
there.
for
a lot of Pope merch. Pope Leo XIV. All right, Brooke, thank you so much. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with GDLA Plus.
All right, welcome everyone to GDLA Plus. Let's see, it is 11:12. We are just starting GDLA Plus. It was a big morning. That's right.
Historic one, indeed.
If you were watching, we basically saw that white smoke come out of the chimney at the Vatican about, I don't know, 9 or so, 9:30, a little past 9:30, and we've been covering this big announcement that we do indeed have a new Pope, Pope Leo XIV, and what makes
First American Pope.
First American Pope. That makes it so much more historic in nature because that has never happened before. And this is a Chicago native. Robert Prevost is his name. He's a cardinal. He spent a great deal of time serving in the Vatican. Pope Francis actually put him in a position where he was vetting bishops around the world. This is an important role that he had. So he's known in the Vatican circle, of course, and he's also interesting dual citizen of Peru because he was a missionary there for many, many years. So I think he's trying to bring the world together in some ways. And even his name, Leo, Sandra, you were saying it's significant because it's a name chosen when there's time of crisis. And this world is indeed in a time of crisis right now.
That's right, and it's so significant because he was handpicked by Pope Francis, really like a right-hand man in the Vatican. So as we were talking about a lot of the front runners that may emerge from this process, we didn't really talk about him, nor an American name, right? So this kind of came as a surprise, but the fact that he served so much time for the faithful in Peru, all of North America is really connecting with this choice. Not only Americans, but North Americans as well. And the Hispanic community, as we're hearing a lot of reaction from Gigi and Brooke out there, a lot of people connecting with this.
The largest Catholic population.
That's right.
Yes. And you're seeing the flags out in the crowd from all the different regions. I saw a Puerto Rico flag, I saw a Mexican flag, there was Spain, and so the world is slowly coming together with this announcement.
And that was to Pope Francis's credit, is picking the largest delegation, the most diverse delegation of cardinals, 133 in the conclave.
And I like the fact that he came out, the new Pope, Pope Leo, and really took the moment in, and he was emotional, but he's so young. He has energy, right? 69 years old is relatively young when you think about this process.
Well, so Pope Francis was 77, so he is young.
Right. So he has many, many years to lead, and it'll be interesting to see the direction he takes the church.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, well, we are going to take a break, and we'll be back, and we'll continue GDLA Plus right after this.
All right, taking a live look at where history was made, a new pope has been announced, the first North American-born Cardinal Robert Prevost, now Pope Leo XIV.
A big day a big week. So much is going on, and last night was the season finale of The Masked Singer, and our next guest was one of the final 3 that was revealed. Has been revealed. Meg Coral, aka.
Thank you. Yes.
Congratulations, making the top 3 on The Masked Singer is such an accomplishment.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's such an honor. It was such a fun show, so it was great.
What was the biggest challenge for you being on the show? Because you're no stranger to performing, but to be on The Masked Singer, there's layers, literally.
Yeah, no, actually, yeah, like quite a few layers, probably like 12. I think, yeah, putting on the costume and performing in costume, I think was probably the hardest challenge of all of it. But I think after I was able to do it, it's kind of like running with weights on. It's like, okay, now I can actually perform and be myself without like the choral pieces on me and the mask. Like, yeah, so it was really cool. It was so much fun and very like confidence building.
I know, it's you don't really think about the fact that some of these costumes are preventing you from maybe singing.
Yes, walking down that step during dress rehearsal, I almost face planted.
You're worried about falling.
I'm worried for you right then.
Yeah, it was really nerve-wracking. And then once I got off the step, I was like, yes, I did it. Yeah, it was really hard.
Did you notice in the moment the reaction of the crowd? Because they all went wild when they saw it was you. At the moment when you're in it, sometimes you miss these little things.
Yeah, I was so shocked. I was so shocked when, there was like a group of kids like on the left side of the stage that were like freaking out, which really surprised me. I didn't think that anybody would know who I was. And then even like on social media when the first performance was announced, like all the comment section was saying my name, and I was like, there's no way. How do you guys know?
They know you from a very popular show, Zombies.
Yes.
Let's talk about your time there.
Yeah, it's been so surreal. I mean, it's been around since I was 16 is when I did the first one. And so just realizing that so many kids have actually grown up with me and grown up with my voice was just really, I still haven't fully processed it, honestly. But yes, this is from Zombies 4, which is coming out July 10th. With a bunch of new kids who are so talented, and
your kids will love it.
Yeah, you'll fall in love with them, and it's incredible. We filmed it in New Zealand.
Oh,
it's incredible. Everything looks green screened in this movie because it's so beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, so it's not? None of it is?
No.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
It's real New Zealand.
Real New Zealand.
What a nice workplace.
Yeah,
right?
it was beautiful. So I had the best time, and I think you can see how much fun we have in the movie. So
yeah, I could see it right there.
Yeah.
Well, people are, if they loved hearing you on The Masked Singer, then they're going to just love your dying art.
Yeah, yes.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
What can fans expect from Dying Art?
Thank you. Yeah, my EP Dying Art's coming out June 20th. I'm so excited. I feel like I've been trying to pursue music for a long time, but this feels like really authentic, and I'm really excited. I feel like it's a lot of different genres that kind of represent me, and I think The Masked Singer was I feel like I did so many genres on The Masked Singer too. So it was like a great, precursor to Dying Art. So. Yeah.
If I was to look at your phone right now and under your playlist, what artists, what songs would I see that you play the most? Are you like a Brat Girl Summer? Cowboy Cartering it up?
Love Cowboy Carter.
Yeah.
I would say right now, I feel like I go through so many phases. Right now, it's like yacht rock.
Oh,
yeah.
Summer's coming.
Yeah, summer, come on, summer in LA. Yeah, so the song that I just released last night is like inspired by You Can Do Magic by America, which is like a classic yacht rock staple. At least I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yacht rock is something that like when I get in the car, it's just playing over and over again. So
it's a vibe.
Yeah,
you know?
That's my vibe right now.
Yeah,
yacht rock's a good vibe.
Yeah.
Isn't your husband into yacht rock?
No.
Okay. Vinyl.
Yes, vinyl.
Vinyl. Maybe I said
But hey, I like it. You know, it's a good vibe.
Bring yacht rock back.
Come on, guys.
Okay, so next month people can check out your new EP and of course zombies.
Yes,
This is exciting. This is a busy, exciting year for you. Ooh, look at that artwork.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, it's been wild. Yeah, I feel like this is just like the Masked Singer's kind of the start. I feel like I've been like anticipating this for so long. I just can't believe it's finally here and I can talk about this openly.
Yeah, right. To hold that secret for so long.
Did you really?
Yes. Yeah. No, they hold a tight ship on the show.
What would happen if, you know, you didn't hold that secret?
I would probably get in a lot of trouble.
She would get excommunicated.
Yeah, signed a lot of NDAs.
Stitches get stitches.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was really funny not being able to tell like anybody, and there were so many things that like I missed, and now I'm able to be like, yes,
What was
remember
your
that
excuse,
thing?
though? Yeah.
I was like, oh, I just have like a work thing.
A work thing.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, I can't really talk about it.
Good.
And they're like, okay.
But a lot of people say that.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a popular phrase.
Did you get a say in the costume in terms of like, oh, if this isn't feeling right, I can't move, I can't sing?
Yeah, I did, and I think like, I mean, the choral costume was just so incredible. I feel like when they showed it to me, I was just like, wow, this is so cool, and it's so sparkly, and I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I did have a say, like, there was a lot of breaks that we were able to take. Like, we had like kind of like 10 things like behind the scenes, and you were able to like take your mask off and take breaks and like take pieces off that were uncomfortable. but yeah, it was like a lot of kind of sitting and like with all the pieces on, and if it's like, oh, 10 minutes out, like you keep it all on, you're just sitting there like this. So
well, you
it was
deserve
wild.
A massage now.
Thank you. Yes, I got a massage after.
You deserve to be on an actual yacht.
Yeah.
To Yacht Rock.
Yeah.
Meg Donnelly, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Congratulations again on making the top 3 for the Masked Singer.
Thank you.
And look out for Zombies and Dying Art. And Dying Art next June 20th.
Yes, June 20th.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
For a bright future, even more in store for you.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, we'll be right back.
Let me see your nails. Those are so